All right, welcome to the Jim and James Morning Podcast. I promise you, this will be the most boring podcast that you have ever listened to in your entire life. If you listen to podcasts, you will know what I'm talking about. Now, this is going to be the worst. So what happened was, what happened, Jim? Tell us.
Well, we had somebody that got stuck in traffic, quote unquote, on the 405. You know what they call it, the 405, bro?
Why?
Because it takes 4 or 5 hours to get anywhere in LA.
Well, you know, they used to call these freeways by names, like the San Diego Freeway, the Ventura Freeway,
Right.
and then now everybody calls them by the number or whatever. But anyway,
Gridlock,
so
baby.
this person couldn't make it, and you're stuck with us. And
You're stuck with...
I don't know what to tell you about that.
I'm excited.
We
I'm
gotta
so
liquid
excited
that.
because we have quite a bit to talk about. I mean, I know you and I have never... I think we interviewed each other. I don't know. It was just not really an interview. It was informal. But I think it's nice to have a formal interview with one another.
Dude, I talk to you on the phone every day for hours about this podcast.
But not about
It's like,
this podcast.
What do you want to ask me?
I want
mean,
to.
What do you want to know?
All right, okay.
Let's rapid fire. We'll do some questions.
All right, so like I want to know. Okay, so you were born in Orange County, but you moved out to the Valley.
Man, see, just when you think someone knows you, I was born in New Haven, Connecticut. In Yale Hospital. There's a hospital in New Haven called Yale Hospital.
Nice.
And then my family moved to Rhode Island. It's the smallest state in the country. A lot of people think
Right.
Delaware is.
Yeah.
And I grew up from like 1 or 2 years old. My sister would know better because she's 10 years older than I am. To I started 8th grade there, but then we moved to Worcester, Mass.
Okay.
Worcester.
Wista, baby.
And my dad's from Boston, so
Okay.
I grew up with a Boston accent, even though I lived in Rhode Island. So anyway, this is all boring, but what happened was this is kind of a funny story. I always tell this. My dad had some friends that he worked with this dude in Rhode Island, and before we moved to Worcester, Mass. This guy, their names was Ralph and Brenda. My mom and dad used to drink with them and hang out with them and stuff. Ralph and Brenda moved to California. My dad and my mom used to always, get lit and talk about moving to California.
Yeah.
And we didn't. Up to that point, we hadn't moved. So my dad had a brother out here he hadn't seen in 25 years. And I don't know how that happens, but we didn't have internet. We didn't have FaceTime. We didn't have. They talked on the phone once in a while. But so what happened was we were in Worcester, Mass, for a few months, and we had that big snowstorm. It was historic. You can look it up. The snowstorm of 1978 back on the East Coast. It was pretty devastating. They made it a national disaster. You couldn't leave your house unless you kind of like the pandemic. No, you couldn't leave your house unless you had a snowmobile. To get back and forth to the store and stuff because they were worried about people dying out there.
Yeah.
So anyway, to make a long story short, which I rarely do.
I don't think you can.
No. So we ended up, okay, this is the funny part. So my dad, I just made new friends in Massachusetts, and my dad said, hey, we're moving to California. And I was like, no, I don't want to move. I'm 13 years old. I don't want to move to California. I don't want to move again, And he goes, no. He goes, man, you can go skateboarding and you can go surfing.
Yeah.
And you can take drama. And I said, I don't want to take drama. And when I got out here, I did end up by taking drama.
Yeah.
And I was in a play, and I got a huge laugh off of a line that I didn't even know was funny, and I got bit by the bug, and that was my start. That's where my love affair with acting started. I guess we all kind of goof around a little bit and play pretend, but that's where I was on stage, and I got that. With that feeling that you get from the audience.
Yeah, you feed off the audience for sure.
So, and I've always loved theater since then.
And now you have
Excuse me.
you
pick up
start
that burp?
you start having children early on, right? Because you're only 45 and your kids are late 30s.
Yeah. So if you believe that, I got some oceanfront property in Arizona for you. So yeah, that's kind of another chapter of the story, which is kind of funny because when we came, the funny thing is a lot of people don't realize, like when we moved to California, Ralph and Brenda were living in what used to be called Sepulveda.
Right.
But now it's North Hills, but because they changed, I don't know why they changed the name of it, but I remember the
street is Sepulveda.
Well, the street was Sepulveda. We lived on Orion or Orion, I can't remember. And the thing is that from what I understand, from what I remember, the name of the city was Sepulveda, and I got to look this up, and I think I did, and I think it's true. Wikipedia. So anyway, we ended up by living in this apartment building with Ralph and Brenda and their 2 kids. It was a 2-bedroom place. We all just sacked. The kids all sacked out. Mom and Dad took the kids that lived there, the Ralph and Brenda's kids' bedroom. And so that lasted about 3 weeks or so. My dad started working, and we got an apartment in the same apartment building. But the cool thing about that place was you can stand out where the railing was, where the common area was before you go down the stairs. And you could smell the hops from the Anheuser-Busch, because it was that close. Oh, I love that smell. Till this day, I'm driving by there, I roll that window down, and I just breathe deep. It's kind of like when somebody's smoking weed and you want to get a contact high. I say breathe deep. Don't do drugs. So anyway, we ended up by living there for about 9 months and then moved down to Costa Mesa. And I lived in Orange County really most of my adult life.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And it would you say that you like Costa Mesa way better than the Valley, right? I mean,
I love Orange County,
so much cooler,
not because
too.
of the politics or anything like that. It's just that when they designed Los Angeles, they didn't design it for the growth. They didn't anticipate the growth. So the way, especially in Pasadena and places like that, Echo
Park.
What's that freeway or highway or whatever you call it?
The 110.
The one where the on ramps and off ramps are just like driveways. Like
It's
so
the 110
short.
is the first freeway.
It's crazy
in Los Angeles.
Yeah, when you try to get on and off that freeway, you take your life
freeway.
you take your life in your hands.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's actually on more of a grid. Like you got Beach Boulevard. For those of you who are not in California, right down Harbor Boulevard. That's where Disneyland is.
Sure.
But they all run in a row. You got Beach, you got Brookhurst. You got all these, and then you got the ones that go the other way. Trask and Ball Road, whatever. So we were down there, and I hung out down at the beach a lot because. A lot of my friends that I went to school with, because I lived in the poor part of Costa.
So you weren't would you consider yourself like a beach bum, or you weren't hanging out at the beach?
Yeah, I was down there quite a bit. I used to hang out with my buddies that had places down there. Their parents lived there, but their parents were never home.
Did you surf?
I bought boogie board.
Oh, that's fun.
Bodyboard. And I've learned really, you learn that you want to fin like on one foot.
Mm-hmm.
You get a Churchill fin. I remember had a Maury boogie board. Got up on my knees a little bit. Got some tubes. Yeah, I was kind of in the water. I lived in the water until I saw Jaws 37 times because I was dating a girl that worked at the Mesa Theater. And she'd let us in, for free, so we'd go every night.
Yeah.
Jim, I got to ask you,
Right.
please, can we talk about me for a minute here? Because this whole time we've been.
I'm glad. It's fine. It's great. I had a long night last night. As you know, it's Father's Day, so happy Father's Day.
Okay.
And after drinking a few brewskis, these are water, by the way. This is Liquid Death.
Liquid Death. Yeah.
You have to stay hydrated now, so try to recuperate. I'd rather you do all the talking today.
Well, you can put a quarter in me; it goes a long way. So where were we? So it was, I lived in a little house with a white picket fence, and we had a dog named Shep. No. What are we doing here? What are we doing? Are we interviewing? Can I ask you a question?
That's fine. Go
Now,
ahead.
you said you grew up near the Dodger Stadium.
Yes, sir. That was my backdrop. I grew up in Northeast LA, Lincoln Heights area. You did too? Oh, my God. That is crazy.
Nice.
What a small world.
And they used to call, there was an area around there they called Chavez Ravine, right?
It's right where the stadium sits on.
Well, I shouldn't laugh, really.
No.
We should.
Well, we can't
We
laugh
shouldn't laugh because
the
it
people
wasn't a
yanked,
very-
the Mexican Americans that lived in that community were yanked from their property, and they just basically took over the property, leveled the land, and then they built
Dodger
the freaking stadium. And the irony of that is that a lot of Mexican Americans are Dodger fans.
Yeah.
They go to Dodger Stadium.
But it was one of those things where they did not have a choice.
They didn't. Nope.
And the money they offered him, I don't know if it was very.
It was almost nothing. Yeah.
That's too bad.
It really
but,
is.
But we love, the Dodgers are good. I
Yeah.
love the Dodgers. I got a picture with Steve Garvey and Oral Hershiser.
Nice.
And I remember Lonnie said, oh, would you take a picture of my boyfriend? He really, he loves you guys. And Steve Garvey looked over and goes, well, this handsome guy, yeah, get over here, let's get a picture, And
Steve Sachs is Steve Sachs, right? His son was one of the Marines killed in that helicopter crash.
oh, recently,
Yeah, recently. The
Oh, I'm
five
so
is one of
sorry.
them. It's terrible. So
yeah,
our hearts and condolences go out to the family.
for sure, for sure. I actually have a nephew that was killed in a Black Hawk helicopter
Are you serious?
outside of Fort Hood, and that's something I don't even really like bringing it up, but it just reminds us that and this wasn't a training exercise or anything. It was he was at my sister's and she was driving him. They made some jokes. It was Thanksgiving weekend. He was on leave and he was in between tours. I mean, he was in the door over in Iraq, and he got commendations and everything. And he said, I don't feel like going back. And my sister said, you want me to write you a note? And he said, tell him something about Tikrit or something. That's how they remembered where he was going. I mean, they, something about something he said triggered when my brother-in-law saw it on the news. He got in his truck and he ran right down to the recruiter station because I guess that's the best way to find out information instead of trying to make phone calls. And it was a Black Hawk helicopter. It was going to check on some equipment at Fort Hood, and it hit a guy wire on a television station, a tower.
Yeah.
And what happened was what made it really unfortunate was that television station was warned by the FAA to fix the light up on the top, the red light.
Right.
So the last transmission was I'm switching to instruments, and then it was over. The accident happened. It's just unfortunate because if they would have fixed that light, it might have been different because it was all foggy. It was like visibility was zip, but that light would have shown them that thing was there. So where were we? We were talking about the Dodgers. How about them Dodgers?
How about them Dodgers, baby? Yeah,
So-
it was great. Speaking of Dodgers, you and I and your girl Lonnie and my girl Steph, we went to Dodger Stadium a couple weeks ago,
We
and
posted some nice pictures.
And that was
about
fun,
that.
man.
Yeah,
That
we
was
had a
great.
blast. We had dinner, and then we got right down there on the field. And
some cool pics.
we that was great.
That was good
We
stuff.
were right there, right behind home plate.
I know that's a dream come true. I'd never sat behind goal,
I only a couple of times I've only had seats that
That's
good.
so cool.
So one time we were at this event, and shame on me for not remembering exactly which one it was, but I don't want to get it wrong like I do a lot of things. And Jeff Goldblum was there, from Jurassic Park and The Fly, all kinds of great
The
movies.
Fly,
He's just
yeah.
great, really, really great guy. And a jazz, he plays piano and sings and all that. Right here in L.A., he plays at some of these local clubs.
Really?
Or some. I don't know if it's one in particular or what, but yeah, he plays a
He's
lot.
mostly known now for Jurassic Park and commercials, right? He's got the commercials.
Oh, he's got the
Is it
he's
the
got that
kayak
going.
or one of those. He's
Anyway,
huge commercial.
Lonnie, said they were getting a picture together, and she said, my boyfriend would like to, and he goes, "Come here, boyfriend," and he gets me in there. That was just kind of a cool moment, I mean, I'm not really starstruck, but
I don't think
it's
neither
just
one of us.
really nice. I admire their. I when I meet somebody like Jeff, I mean, now we're on first name basis.
I know,
I
right?
just the talent, and the body of work and everything. There's a difference, I think, between being all goofy because you're starstruck and then just really admiring the work.
Who was the first celebrity? It's a good question. I mean, it begs the question. Who was the first celebrity or person, renowned person that you met? The very first
Matt
one.
or just
You saw, like
I saw
right
it. Was
before you.
there-
It was the first person.
I think it was my dad had a friend who was a boxing coordinator for films and stuff, and he used to drink with him over at Latka's Golden Glove Tavern, and I think it was Huntington Beach, but it was on Balsa and Golden West. And we used to meet there every morning for work, and then after work we'd come back to get our vehicles, and we'd go in and have a couple of beers. And his name was John Rosilius, and I didn't know he was a famous guy, but he asked a bunch of the painters that would paint houses and stuff if we wanted to do some extra work and go up and be on a movie set at Warner Brothers and be in this TV show. So yeah, we're all like, yeah, we'll do it. And so I was up there on a show called Frank's Place, and Tex Cobb was in the episode. He was a kickboxer who fought Larry Holmes and
Oh, wow.
yeah, and or Sugar Ray Leonard or something. I think it was Larry Holmes was the big one, the big famous fight.
Yeah.
But Tim Reed, who was in he was Venus Flytrap and WKRP Cincinnati. It was his show. It was called Frank's Place. And then there was another guy named Tony Randall, but there's a couple Tony Randalls.
It's not Tony Orlando?
No. remember
Tony Orlando.
remember Chico and the Man?
Sure.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
old. You're young enough. You're old enough.
A friend
to
of
remember
mine.
it?
So
You're
here's the funny thing. No, but a friend of mine has a whole box set of this, and at some point I'm looking at this. I go, oh my god, it looks like the projects on 8th Street out of East Los Angeles. He goes, that's the backdrop. Like when the show starts, he goes, you got to see it. And I sat
Yeah.
there for 5 minutes. And I watched it, and I go, "Oh, that's pretty cool, man! Oh, that's what's his name's Freddie Prinze Jr.'s dad."
Yeah.
And I saw some
He
of the
died
show. It's pretty
tragically.
cool. It was like one season or something or two.
I remember
or
they had a
something big.
because he looked a lot like Tony Orlando.
Yeah,
So you
both
mentioned
of them,
that.
yeah.
And I remember they had this one scene on Chico and the Man where they walk real slow around each other, just checking each other out. It was really funny. It was really cool.
Good show.
Yeah, it reminds me of shows like Welcome Back, Kotter.
Yeah.
And that's where John Travolta got his start. I could talk about now this kind of stuff. I could talk about. I love talking about movies and TV shows and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much like the first time. And I was on the set of Warner. I mean, on the lot Warner Brothers, and I remember I was walking behind Tex Cobb, and he had the boxing robe. Big dude, really tall guy. And I was quite a bit younger, so. I remember he had like some guys in suits and stuff that were walking with him, probably his team or whatever. And I had a suit on because I was a spectator, just doing an extra thing. I was a spectator. And he was talking about like some girl, and she hit me with a palimony or this and that. He was boy, she this. And then all of a sudden we get to the set, and he sees me go this way, and he realized that I was just an extra. He was just like, oh man, what am I talking? I was talking in front of that guy,
Yeah. That's crazy, bro. I think mine was actually Edward James Olmos when I was in high school. So I went to Lincoln High School, and they had the scene where Edward James Olmos came out to give out pictures from the movie. What was the movie he plays?
Selena?
No, that's a good movie too.
I love that movie.
No. There was the movie he did was Stand and Deliver. How can I forget? Stand and Deliver. And I remember I saw the movie and I saw him and I go, holy shit, that guy looks just like the guy in this movie. And this is like a teenager that's never really met anybody famous at the time. So, it's not like the kids nowadays. Like my son's always around famous people because of his mom and myself. So it's not a big deal. But me growing up, I'd never seen anyone famous, bro. So when I saw him, I was like, holy shit, it's Edward James Olmos. And then he looked at me and he goes, hey, kid, you want a picture? And it's back when they would give you physical copies and then sign them. So I got a picture signed by him. And I think that was the first
That's
person
when
I met.
autographs were the thing.
It's a thing, remember?
Now it's selfies, pictures.
Yeah. So he autographed his picture and gave it to me. And then we're just talking about how amazing it was that he was there. Like, no way, he was there. And I went home and told my mom, hey, you know what, Mom, I met Edward James Olmos. Like, it was the big deal. That's great. That was the guy. He was also on Miami Vice, and that was a great show.
I forgot
he was
about
good
that.
in that.
That's where. It was another cool interaction I had. I got some tickets to see the LA Kings at the Forum, Los Angeles Forum, and whoever I was going with, I'll never forget it because Brett Hull scored 50 goals in his 50th game.
Wow.
So it was some record, and they stopped everything, and he did the laps and everything. And I remember Gretzky had the stick with the silver handle.
The great Gretzky.
Yeah. So we were up in the Forum Club, and Tony Danza was up there.
Really?
Yeah, and his brother was down the bar a little bit and surrounded by girls. And Tony was kind of like, let's go, He wanted to get out of there. He was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
And so I started talking to Tony. I said, my dad's friend, this guy, John Rosilius.
Sure.
And by then I had known a little bit more about John. He was the guy that was in the movie Con Air.
Oh wow.
Yeah. He was one of the agents.
Okay.
Not the one whose car flies away, but the other one where he's standing there reading them the riot act on the guards about how these are dangerous. You look
Is that Steve Easton's movie? The one he was
Yeah,
in?
Steve Easton.
I remember
Yeah.
Steve Easton.
Yeah, I met Steve through acting.
Hey, remember the classes he used to have?
Yeah, I went over and
And
that's
Toluca Lake.
how I.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, he was also in Catch Me If You Can. He was great.
Yeah,
in
he
that
goes, "Hey
too.
kid, you can have this one. It's expired. I don't need it."
Yeah, good Steve Easton impression. So John Rosilius though, he was in another great movie called Guarding Tess with Nicolas Cage.
Wow.
I think Nick Cage was in both of the movies.
Nicolas Cage is in everything now.
Yeah, yeah.
He's done so many movies, that guy, huh?
Right. So anyway, I have a habit of saying the wrong things on occasion sometimes.
But it's fun though,
Well, I guess, but I was talking
because no one's fact checking. By the way.
Well, I was talking to Tony Danza, and I said, my this guy, he's a boxing coordinator, and he said you're good with your hands,
Yeah.
And I think Tony was getting a little nervous, like, where's this guy going with this, And I was just saying, he said you're good with your hands. So I said my dad used to do some boxing, and
That's so cool. Yeah.
So he was like
by the way,
trying to get his brother out of there. So then his brother finally, they took off. But what was I had another great moment where I was at a screening of The Fighter. Christian Bale and
that was a good movie.
And David O. Russell.
Christian Bale was great in that.
Yeah, and David O. Russell directed it. So after the movie was over, everybody was talking to them and stuff, and there was a little crowd around them. And I got this thing where I walk up, and you can just see in my face, I just want to ask you something, or I want to say something, and it doesn't always. I mean, I don't do it on purpose. It just, and it doesn't always work, obviously, because I could tell you another story about that. But anyway, so.
It's 8 o'clock.
He saw me. Oh, really? Wow.
Where did time go?
This is morning in
the morning podcast. So, it's morning somewhere around the world. Let's face it.
So real quick, I'll tell you. I said that the biggest compliment I could give you about this movie is that my dad would have loved it. He would have loved it because my dad used to box in Lowell.
That's
and
awesome,
he said, "Really?" And he goes, "Oh, my dad is here tonight and stuff like that." And we just started talking about our dads, and it was just really cool, nice. David O. Russell's a really great guy. He was really gracious. I when you could just tell somebody takes the time and they're not.
Sure.
I felt like he just was that kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful. We have bona fide, just regular people, feet on the ground type of deal.
We have another guest coming.
Yeah, we actually do. We have Glenn.
I got to check.
We have Glenn coming in
here. We do. Glenn Allen.
Glenn Allen, how about that?
2-time Emmy. Oh gosh.
Is he waiting?
Oh yeah. Can somebody go down and get him?
I got him. He's downstairs?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Can we? Yeah. We good? Thanks, brother, man.
All right. Thanks.
That's it. That's the show.
Yeah.
That's our show.
Make sure you
guys.
subscribe, okay?